3-month-long 3,600 kilometer horseback ride, and people cutting me open on a regular basis. When I saw the kids here in Mongolia, like alone and cold and, not being properly cared for, instead of like it feeling like an affront or an assault, it just felt really welcoming. But like literally when I got on the horse and then the horse started moving, like the most amazing thing happened. And I found these kids just in these terrifying situations where it was about minus 25 the day that we went up there. You not even realize yourself what kind of a mecca this is for horse people.
Welcome to the very first episode of Unscripted with Ganaa. And today we have a very special guest, and our very first guest. Before we started with our podcast, I was speaking with people around, and then her name came up a few times. And that's when I decided that she should be our first guest, because when I talked to people, they were like, I could be a good guest, but you should check out Julie Veloo. She has fascinating stories that you can put on your podcast. And that's why we have Julie Veloo on our first podcast. And thank you, Julie, for your patience, because we had to set up everything and it took some time. And I know that you're concerned for the dog who's back at home, and that's how I know you're a good person. So before we begin, I just wanted to ask, what do you do here, and why do you think so many people have recommended you to be our first guest at Unscripted with Ganaa?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me here. It's like quite the honor to be the first guest in something that I think, just from having spoken to you while the setup was going on, this is going to be a good thing for Mongolia and for the world. You've got a great attitude and great insight, and so I am very honored to be here. Why do people pick me? I mean, part of it is because I've been here for a long time, and I do a lot of different things, I guess. I work with the Veloo Foundation. We've got the kindergartens and sewing center and the 2 community libraries, and now a medical clinic that's just about to be opened up as well, a medical and dental clinic, all servicing the people up in the Gare district, up in Song and Hatang. And so one of the poorest communities, so this is all charity stuff. And because I fundraise for it by doing lots of things, but one of the things that I do is these really epic, crazy, wonderful, amazing horseback rides around Mongolia. So, I talk a lot, so people maybe have heard me before, I don't know. But I think it's just there's not so many foreign people that have been here as long as me that sort of speak the language and, do the crazy things that I do. So that's my best guess why they picked me or why people recommended me, but I'm honored that they did.
Yeah, I mean, I thought those people were fascinating people, So, one of them was living near the Orhung waterfalls. Yeah, and she's from Canada. And then I thought she was really fascinating, and I wrote to her, we should come over to you. And she's like, before you do that, you should really talk to Julie Veloo. And I thought, what can be more fascinating than a person, than a Canadian woman who came over here on a tour and then met her husband as the guide,
right,
and then decided to live over here. And then upon hearing your name, I definitely, even though it's Unscripted with Ganaa, I definitely did some research.
You did some scripting?
Yeah. No, not scripting. Just to get to know your background, right? And then I found out that you did all these charity events, and then all the great work that you do, but I deliberately didn't go into the details so that we can have this podcast as authentic as possible.
Sure.
Right. And I really appreciate, on behalf of everybody in Mongolia and, in the community, I really appreciate what you do. And I definitely feel like, especially for you, you could, right now, you could be sipping cocktail on a tropical beach somewhere.
I could.
But it's minus 30 outside, Julie.
I know.
Right? So I really appreciate people who go the lengths to help people. But in order to go into before we go into those details, I just wanted to know you more as a person, and where did you grow up? How did you not like how did you end up in Mongolia, but how did you end up in this world, on this earth,
On this planet.
on this planet?
First of all, it's quite cool that you spoke to Noemi. She was one of the lady from the Orkhon waterfall who was on
Naomi, yes.
our 84-day, 3-month-long, 3,600 kilometer horseback ride in 2022. She's a lovely.
3,000?
It was 3,600.
Oh my.
So
Okay.
next year we're doing 4,000, but we can talk about that in a minute. How did I get on the planet? Well, I'm the youngest of 6, and so my mother is my hero. She, when I was born, she was 24, and she had 5 older children, and we
5
were.
older children than you.
Yeah, I'm the youngest of 6, and she was 24 when I was born.
Okay.
So she started at 17, and by the time she was 24, there were 6 of us.
Wow.
And I was born in southern British Columbia, in Canada, in a cold place, and then I was in the hospital from when I was 2 to when I was 6 with a bone disease. So I had lots of surgeries, and I was by myself because I was quite a long ways away from my family. While I was there, they moved to what I would consider my home, which is like when I came out of the hospital at 6, they were living in northern British Columbia at that point in a place called Cassiar. So it's a place that gets routinely down to -40 or -50.
Celsius.
Yeah.
Well,
And
at -40, it doesn't really matter, right?
it doesn't matter, right? Exactly. It's all the same. And then, the difference from Mongolia is that it's lots and lots of snow. So we had about 7 meters of annual snowfall there,
Wow.
and so it was a little tiny mining town. So
Oh.
it prepared me well for the future that I was going to have here in Mongolia.
So at 6, you came out of the hospital.
Yeah.
So you were fully cured, or what was the diagnosis?
So I had a bone disease called osteomyelitis, which is basically a staph infection of the bone marrow. And so they did a lot of surgeries, a lot of bone scraping. It's this arm, so it doesn't go straight. It only goes like that far. So so it moves a little bit and whatnot, but it's definitely not fully functional. And so so I was in there. I think I had 4 or 5 surgeries, and it was one of those things. Like osteomyelitis is one of those diseases that 20 years earlier it would have killed me. 20 years later it wouldn't have been a problem because of the evolution of antibiotics. So it was 1962 when I went to the hospital. So now everyone can do the math and figure out that I'm 65 years old. But so it was I was in the hospital from 62 till 66. And so it was at that point I was on a lethal dose of penicillin. And then there was erythromycin and all of that sort of thing. So it was, in some respects, because I was there by myself and away from my family, and having people cutting me open on a regular basis, I think that really, you don't have to be Freud to figure out that that's one of the reasons why when I saw the kids here in Mongolia, like alone and cold and, not being properly cared for, that it really resonated so deeply with me is because it's like somewhere deep inside of there, those traumas that you experience as a child, they still live, they're still there. And so that's when I met the kids in Songenhachen up there by Ulancholot, that I knew that I had to do something to help them.
Wow. I can't imagine, a 2-year-old on the surgery bed.
Yeah.
Yeah, getting opened up, right?
Yeah.
And I have a 9-year-old back home. And when he was little, he got into MSRA. It's another infection, but it infects the surface of the skin, and he had to go through surgery as well. And that was the most terrifying experience I've ever experienced.
Yeah.
So I can't really imagine what a 2-year-old and what goes through their heads, their small heads when they're on the surgery bed that has to deal with that until 6.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you were hospitalized throughout.
Yeah, I was home for 1 month. There was at one point between surgeries, I went home for a month, and so, and got into lots of mischief apparently. But other than that, yeah, I was in the hospital full time, and so I do. It's weird. I have weird memories. In those days, they had when they gave you blood, it was in a glass bottle.
What?
And so there was like, I remember this, it was beautiful. Like this glass bottle hanging over top of me and the sun was coming through it. Blood's very pretty when it's like this red ruby
Yeah.
color. No, I was just saying, I have some memories from the hospital. I think that some of the memories from being, in surgery and stuff. And I was in isolation for a large part of that because I was very infectious. And so for a large part of it, I was sort of by myself in a room as well. And so apparently I used to sit by the door and then yell at people not to come in because they would get my Germans. My mother said because of Germans. So, but I haven't even got to the story yet. When we were, we were like in first grade, we're getting the shot and I go in, I went in to see the nurse, and there's a big long lineup of kids behind me, of course. And so I said to the nurse, probably, you don't want to put it in this arm because everybody's getting the shot in their left arm. And she's like, don't tell me what I want to do. Okay.
Yeah.
So I roll my sleeve up. And so like there's like the muscle here and there's this big bulb here. And then the rest of it is just bone. And so she insisted that it should go in the left arm. And so she stuck the needle in to my bone.
Ow.
And then she freaked out and she broke it.
Ow.
So I'm sitting there with this needle sticking out of your bone.
Where is the funny part in this?
The funny part's coming. Okay. They didn't, like, your bone doesn't actually have nerves in it, so it's okay. It didn't really hurt. But she's freaking out, and so they had to go down to in those days they had woodworking shop at the school, so they went down to the woodworking shop, and then they got the pliers and they pulled it out. And then adding insult to injury, then I had to get the shot in my other arm, right? But the funny part is that I'll never forget this. A little boy named Peter Tischler, he was the next kid in line. And so when I went to get up, I'm looking at him. He's just like, oh. He's traumatized. I'm sure he's still traumatized.
He got lifelong PTSD.
PTSD about shots, I'm sure. And so, but it gives you a frame of reference when I start thinking about like one of the reasons why like I have maybe different framework than some people because of being in the hospital. Not just because you were sick and not just because you were by yourself, but lots of unpleasant things happen. And if they happen to you and you have to deal with them yourself, then, really, I don't think that there's any unpleasant things happening now that would compare to that. So
no. That's a whole perspective, right? That gives people. I think that's exactly why I'm asking, because in most cases, when I meet people who are extraordinary, they went through some extraordinary hardships very early on, so that they develop both empathy and resilience at the same time, which is very paradoxical, right? People would normally think that weak people are emotional, weak people are more empathetic. But I find it the other way around. I find that the stronger you are, the more you can smile and laugh with people and, just feel their pain more.
Well, I mean, if you've had the human experience, then it's easy, it's more relatable. And so, and then I do think that there's also something about if you've had, negative things happen to you, then you really realize that you don't know what anybody else has had happen to them. And when you really, really understand that, when you really appreciate that, like once you've gone through some stuff, then you look at people differently because, I'm generally speaking, like you say, very positive, very outgoing, very empathetic. I've had a lot of like really terrible things happen, but there's no point there's no point dwelling on the terrible things, in my opinion, because that's life. Life is a collection of miserable things, and finding joy from it and joy through it is really it's the only path that makes any sense to me. And so that's why I do whatever I can now to bring joy to me and like to anybody else. Everybody needs some joy.
Definitely, it's just like that bottle of blood, that you found beauty in, right? As a kid.
Right. I don't think I knew it was blood, but it was just it. It's weird that I remember that, but yeah, there's only a few things I remember from the hospital, but yeah.
Maybe it's a good thing.
Oh, I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is a good thing. I told my mother one time, I asked her when I was about 12 or 13, I said, Mom, why do I remember this watch? I remember having like this kind of watch that you have for kids. When you go like this way, it looks like a cat. And when you go this way, it looks like a dog. You're like, like the little,
Yeah,
that you
yeah,
get
yeah.
at the dollar store kind of thing. I said, why do I remember this watch? And my mother just crumbled right in front of me. She just started crying. And I was like, okay. And she said she gave me that watch when she came to tell me that they were moving. She gave me
Oh.
this watch. And so she came to tell me that when I went home, it wouldn't be the same home. It would be a different home. And so this was like about 6 or 8 months before I actually got out of the hospital. And so I remember very clearly when it was my mother's friend who picked me up from the hospital when I was ready to go. I remember very clearly not believing that I was going to go home. I thought I didn't know what was happening, but I was quite certain that I was not ever going to see my parents again. And so
Oh.
I was very surprised when I ended up,
With
seeing
your
them again and
with your family at
with my
another
family.
location, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway,
Well, 6 years old,
Yep.
6 year olds can think of many different, yeah.
true, true.
So you're growing up in Canada with your now family, and you're mostly cured.
Uh-huh.
Obviously, there's
Yeah.
there's some effects that's been left. So how did your childhood progress from then on, and how did you become?
It was pretty normal childhood. It was one of those things. We were one of those families. We were poor, but we didn't know we were poor. My
Isn't that the
right?
greatest thing
Yeah,
in life?
yeah. My dad went hunting, and he always said it was because he didn't want to feed his kids meat that had all these chemicals and stuff in it. But it really was because there was no money to buy meat, and so
Wow.
we were each allowed one new outfit a year, like from the
There you go.
catalog kind of thing, one or two, and we just thought that's how everybody lived. But we were poor, but we weren't poor. We had food, we had clothes,
Yeah.
we had shelter.
Yeah.
It was fine. Dad worked, Mom stayed at home. There was 6 of us, like I said, and so we stayed in that little tiny town until I was 14, and then we moved farther south in British Columbia to a bigger place. I remember seeing my very first traffic light. It was very exciting.
Wow. And how old were you?
14.
At 14, you've seen your first traffic light.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I was excited because I know how this works because I'd seen it like in books and things, and so we didn't get TV till I was 12. So where I was living, there was no TV access until Canada put up the
So what was the name of the town?
Cassiar,
Cassiar.
a little mining town in northern British Columbia. It was an asbestos mine, and so they put up the Anik satellite in 1971. And so in 1972, we got a TV and little black and white TV. It was very exciting. We were allowed to watch Hockey Night in Canada and the Bugs Bunny Roadrunner Hour. That was pretty much it. And then, and the Tommy Hunter Show. Don't get me started on the Tommy Hunter Show. And so then, we moved when I was 14 down to Prince George, which is a city now of about 100,000. So it was about probably 45 or something then, I'm guessing. I don't know. So we lived outside of town, and my brother had just died, and that was one of the reasons why we moved.
Older.
Because my older brother.
So one of the four?
There was 3 boys and 3 girls in the family, so he was the oldest boy. So he died when I was 13, and so so we moved south as a result, and so I went to school there, finished high school, decided that I was going to go to university. So I'm the first person in my family ever to go to university.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. My mother was like appalled that I was going to go to university. Everybody thinks, oh, your parents will be so proud. No, my dad was, but my mother really, honestly, she actually believed that education was wasted on women because you're just going to grow up and have a family and be a mom, and what's the point of education? And
Wow.
she was what's all this women's lib? Like
Yeah,
these women
yeah, yeah.
libbers. She didn't want women's libbers. But I give my mom tremendous credit because when sort of 10 years down the track after I'd graduated and gotten married and had children, and she said, I see you with your boys, and you're a much better mother because you have the education. And so she even came around to the fact that education, it was not just learning a series of skills so that you could get a job, that there was more beneficial impacts on people and families and towns and cities and societies from education than just simply knowing information.
Exactly.
Like sort of knowing how to think and how to reason. And all the rest of it, that also had impact. So, so went to high school, went to university, got my degree in French and with a minor in Spanish. And so, je peux parler français?
Petit.
Un peu. Un peu.
Mais j'ai français.
Oh, ça, c'est bien, ça. So, I fell in love with French. We had my first French teacher in grade 7. She was a lady from Quebec. It was in the mining town still.
There you go.
And she came and she started speaking French, and I just thought it was the most magical thing. And the thing that got to me was that it was like, not just that it sounded beautiful, and it did, but it was this whole concept to me. I was a weird kid, but the concept that you could express the same thing, but with using different sounds and like different words and different cultural connotations and so on. So I became really fascinated by how much culture was tied up with language, and how much just to appreciate the fullness of the human experience, how you needed to be able to speak
New discovery,
to people.
isn't it?
Yeah, to speaking in a different language. It's not just simply translating. It's a different focus, and it's a very different cultural experience. And so I became enamored with languages, got my degree, and met my husband, and he's a mining engineer, which is why we ended up eventually in Mongolia. Well, I should say he's a mineral process engineer, mining and mineral process engineer.
Yeah, but there's a bit of a feud,
Yeah, there is.
those two.
The funny thing is that he was never going to work in a mill. He was like, oh yeah, no, he was a mining engineer, mining. But his first job out of university was in a mill, and so then it just sort of evolved from there because the degree covered both aspects. And so we lived in a lot of places. So we first started out in Campbell River, which is on Campbell River. It's on Vancouver Island.
Campbell, okay.
Yeah, so we lived there for 9 years, and then and that's where the boys were born. And then after that, we ended up moving.
So how did you guys meet?
Oh, it's a very funny.
Sorry for interrupting.
No, that's a funny story too. So my husband he's from Singapore originally, and so
Chevy Veloo.
Chelvan is his real name.
Oh.
See, Chevy
Why did I ever thought he was from India? I don't know.
His family, he's ethnically Indian, like his family is Indian, but he was born in Singapore.
There you go.
Excuse me, and he grew up in Malaysia. So I was in second year university, and so after first year university, I had gone with my friend to Toronto to work and live the grand adventure and do all the rest of it. And my parents, I put myself through university, and I thought I would make more money doing this, which did not turn out to be true. It turned out to be quite false. And so when I came back from Toronto, I'd had a great summer, learned a lot, but I think I had $236 in my pocket. So I was determined, because I'm a bit stubborn, not to let my parents know. I was not going to let my mother have an "I told you so" moment. So I went looking for a job, and I got a job, and I got registered in university, and I sweet talked my way into all sorts of extensions for payment and all the rest of it. But I got in. I was a full-time student, but my living quarters were quite basic. So I was in a basement suite that had been broken into like 3 rooms and then a shared kitchen. And so
there you go.
I was in one of the rooms, and the other 2 were 2 young men who were, they weren't, I'm trying to be polite about this because my mama raised me to be polite, but
there you go.
we were never going to have a long-term friendship, put it that way. They were nice enough guys. Like,
what kind of roommates will have a long-term relationship, to be honest?
Yeah. Right. So they smoked a lot of pot and did a lot of those sorts of things, and I did not. And so I was working full-time and going to school full-time. And so my friend, Sue, who I'd met in my first year of university, she was living in a very nice on-campus apartment, and so she went home for Christmas. And
posh girl, okay.
The posh girl, right? So she went home for Christmas, and she invited me to stay in her room at her apartment because there was another mutual friend of ours, Jean, who couldn't go home for Christmas because she was from Malaysia. So Jean had gone to an all-boys school in a place called Taiping, Perak, Malaysia, because in Malaysia, the boys' school education is better than the girls' school education. And if you have enough money, you can get your daughter to go to the boys' school. And so also went to that boys' school was a lovely young man named Julie Veloo.
Oh,
And
there you
so
go.
I came home from work while I was staying there, and Jean called me, and she's like, "Julie, come here. There's someone I'd like you to meet." And honestly, I thought, "Oh God," because I was so tired. And Jean's friends were, they were weird, generally speaking, and I didn't really have any bandwidth left to go. But you can't just say, "I'm sorry, I'd rather not meet your weird friends." But you
No,
can't, right? So
no, yeah, it's peer pressure is strong.
so I went around the corner, and there was Chelvin sitting there, and it was, as they say, love at first sight, and he couldn't escape. So that was it. So
Oh,
then
there you go. So you were the one who reeled him in.
he says it was the same for him. So we ended up staying up all night talking and going walking down by the beach, and yeah, it was like it was pretty much kismet. It was meant to be, and so there you go.
So
And
he
so
was studying processing
yeah,
engineering
yeah,
degree.
he was. I can't remember what year he was in at that point. I think he was in pre-engineering, whatever that's called, at that point, and then, or maybe it was first year mining. I'm not sure.
So maybe it's too personal a question. How did your parents react to you bringing?
Bring home a little Indian boy.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I wanted to be politically correct as well. But,
Right. Yeah.
you said it. Not
No.
me.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's fine. Because I mean, this was 1979. My parents were perfectly fine with it. Perfectly fine. There's not. In fact, I think that they liked Chelvin more than they liked me by the end of it. My father thought he was amazing. My father was a big, even though he'd left school in seventh grade to help support his family, and my mother left in ninth grade because she didn't have any clothes. She had to go to work because she had one skirt left and it had worn out, and so she literally had to go to work so that she could buy a skirt. So that,
Oh.
right, she was like, my mom was poor, and so they just always wanted us to be happy. And my dad was quite the student of all sorts of things esoteric, and he thought it was quite wonderful. So he brushed up on all, like, he read a lot of mythology. My dad brushed up on all the Hindu mythology.
Oh, he did.
Oh yeah, he knew all this stuff. He knew like all kinds of stuff.
Wow.
Like Hindu,
Yeah,
Buddhist, Christian, Islam, all of it. He knew all of it. And so before I brought Chelvin home, he brushed up on all this stuff, and then he was asking Chelvin all these questions. And Chelvin's like, I don't know, I'm not really religious, I don't really know.
He's
So
not, your father is more Indian than
in,
Shivi.
in some respects, yeah, he was. So,
Wow.
yeah, so no, that was never an issue. It was fine.
Wonderful. Yes, it's great to hear, because the more I hear about your parents, the more I understand why you are doing what you're doing right now. And I think, they're heroes.
They
in
really
my,
are.
in my book.
Yeah, they were great. I won the lottery when I got born into that family. It was good. Even though they dumped me in the hospital for a few years so I wouldn't die.
Well, you didn't have any choice, but at the same time, it sounds like you had very rich upbringing when
did.
it comes to life.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I can relate in many ways to your story, because as I was saying while we had a technical issue, some of the stories that you've said are so familiar to me. My childhood was spent during the from early 90s to the early 2000s, but I can relate to so many of the stories, and how you've gotten introduced to traffic lights at a later age and so forth. I can vividly remember the first time I ate a banana.
Yeah.
I was 15.
Yeah.
And that was the best thing
Right.
ever. Like,
Right.
where were you?
Right.
When I was a kid.
Right.
But yeah, it really feels like the 60s and 70s in Canada was pretty much the same with the 90s
Yeah.
and the early 2000s over here in Mongolia.
I remember my dad he bought a coconut one day there was a coconut in the store. We don't know how there got to be a coconut, but he brought a coconut home so his kids would know what a coconut was. And then, he drilled the eyes out of it and poured out the milk. We broke it. We ate the coconut, and it was like a religious experience, because the fact that it had come from a tropical island, and just everything that went with it. You know,
Yes.
it was crazy. So it's like your banana.
Yes,
Same
yes.
same thing.
Exactly. Nowadays, you can just buy it from
Anywhere. But you know,
any
and
store. But
even coming to Mongolia when we first came here, when we first came, it was 2009, but when we moved here, it was 2010. You know, you couldn't. There were so many things you couldn't buy back then. Like the availability, the supply chain issues that have been resolved in the 15 or 16 years that I've been here are remarkable. Like, you know, there used to be this whole telephone system where somebody would call you and they're like, there's cream cheese at Mercury, right?
Mercury.
Right?
Yeah,
So,
Mercury
yeah,
Market.
Mercury Market, yeah. So it was like, and now the cream cheese everywhere. Like I remember there was a huge discussion in the expat world. They have avocados. Like the avocados didn't start here till like 2015 or 16.
Probably, yeah.
That's when they first came, and it was like one avocado you had to give your kidney. Like that's how much it cost, and they were terrible avocados. But just the fact that there was avocados, like, and now they're everywhere, right?
Yeah,
Now it's not a problem.
exactly. It might seem like a small thing in life,
Yeah.
you know, just tropical fruits,
Right.
but it has such a big implication behind it, right? You know, it's the first time I had that banana, you know, I described it to some of my friends, and they were like, "Ah, where did you have it? Did you save the peel of the banana so
Right.
that we
So
can?"
we could see it.
Yeah, we can. We've seen it on cartoons,
Oh, so you
obviously.
can slip.
Yeah. Have people slip over and over again. Obviously, in their minds, we could just use it as a prank, like for years.
It's funny, like now, up at the Children of the Peak, up at the kindergartens, we do this like the Golden Fall, right? And we bring up all these fruits for the kids, and so we bring up kiwi fruit. Kiwi fruit's my favorite because these 3, 4, 5-year-olds, they're looking at the kiwi fruit like, I don't think so.
No,
like, that
it's heavy and
looks weird, and then they start eating it, and then they love it, and so we're destroying their opportunity to remember their first banana because we're doing it when they're 3, 4, and 5 years old. But it is, the perspective of the planet, of where you are in the planet. It's been such a globalized, international system the past, 15, 20, 30 years, that, it was very sort of, Canada was very isolated and nationalistic when I was little, and same for you in Mongolia.
yeah.
And so there's that similarity, I certainly think. Yeah, it's true. The world's a different place now, though, and so helping people be prepared, for what's coming at them.
Yes.
That's a big part of why we do what we do, so that you can, like we're the kindergarten. Our new kindergarten building that we're building. We're gonna be I'm an ESL teacher. I was telling you earlier, and so
you did.
I am gonna put an English language stream in the school up there in Songhai, and so there'll be like three classrooms, like one preschool, one grade 1, 2, 3, one grade 4, 5, 6, and they'll only have 10 kids per grade, basically. So it's going to be very, very small. But the idea of it is not necessarily so much just to give the kids, teach them English, which you yourself understand completely. The difference that speaking English makes when you're in Mongolia is like, it's monumental. But it's not just so that the kids that come through our program some of them will speak English. That's actually like a far distant second goal. The goal is so that the families, the parents of these kids, will start to dream about their kids being able to go overseas to go to school. And once the parents have this dream and this vision, and they see that it's realistic and that there is an opportunity for it, then they will find a way to make it happen. And the children too will be able, like you just change what their expectations for themselves and their lives are, and that is part of exposing them to the world. And so, I mean, I've seen this happen already from our community library. It's kind of what gave me the idea and the encouragement to do the English language thing. But it's becoming a citizen of the world at this point in time in history it's a huge step for people from the Gare district in Mongolia, and so I'm excited about all of that. And in a similar way, like my first coconut, your first banana is like the first English I think it's going to be the first like English stream school in the Gare district, like in the hardcore Gare district. I think there might be some, like it's hard for people who don't live in Mongolia to understand. Like the Gare district that's close to the city center, that's a very different place than the Gare district that's on the far outside. The Gare district close to the city center has been here for 30 years, right? It's just established neighborhoods and lots and lots of people who like live and work in offices and whatever. They live in the Gare district close to the city, and it's very normal. But it's a bit more of the Wild West out where our kindergarten is.
Definitely, because this podcast is in English, and that's the whole point, to give perspective,
right?
Of unique perspectives out to the world,
right.
Not only for Mongolians. So, what was your first impression when you came to Mongolia?
The very first time.
Yes, the very, very first time.
The very first time. So it was funny, like, so that when Chelvin came home and he asked me, we were living in, when we were living in Salt Lake City, when he had the opportunity to move onto the project. And he came home and he said, how would you like to move to Mongolia? And I said, sure. That was the entire conversation.
That was it.
And then I said, like, where exactly is Mongolia? like I knew it was like, honestly, it's embarrassing now, but I probably would have picked Kazakhstan or Uzbekistan previously if I had to. I knew it was sort of like over there.
But
somewhere.
You're closer than most people.
But
I mean,
I was, yeah. But so, I mean, I was ready for an adventure because we were living in Salt Lake City and there's not a lot of adventure there. So I was perfect. I was perfectly ready to go. When the very first time that we came, it was interesting because the company, they bring you over for a look-see, right? And basically, the husband already has committed to the job, but the question is, how will the wife be, and blah, 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 all that stuff. And I'd been through that a bunch of times because we lived in a bunch of places overseas. But we already knew we were coming, but they were going to pay for a free trip. So we were like, okay, let's go. Don't tell them that they wasted their money on our look-see. But the first time we came, it was the old airport. So
the Winter airport.
Yeah. And so when we arrived, this was before any of the sort of modern practices had been implemented at the airport. And so when you came out down the stairs and the doors opened, there was no crowd control at all. And so the day that we arrived, as it turns out, it was Chinggis's birthday.
Oh.
It was November 20th.
Oh, Chinggis.
Right?
Yeah.
And so there was this huge crush of people in the airport. And so there was this tiny little path that you could just push your cart through, right? And so, but the thing that I found really interesting, there were so many people wearing dells, so many with fur hats. Like it really, really looked like Mongolia. Like you had landed someplace
unmistakable,
much, much different than where you'd left. And so the funny thing is, I came to Mongolia equipped with a perfectly functioning North American sense of space. This is my space, and so I didn't like, I had never liked, I don't like strangers touching me. I don't like them being too close. I'm sure some of that has to do with, being a kid and being cut open.
Yeah, isolated.
But it was like, I had to squeeze through this tiny little path, and instead of like it feeling like an affront or an assault, it just felt really welcoming. I just really felt like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like I felt like I was at home. I really, it was beautiful. And I don't know why. I don't know how to describe it. It's like past life. Maybe I was Mongolian. Mitushte. Maybe I was. I'm not sure. Yeah. But but I really just felt like this is wonderful. This is awesome. And so I saw everything. I'm a very positive person to begin with. And so sometimes maybe too positive. And I just saw everything was awesome. Like we were staying at the what's the hotel? The Kempinski. We were at
Kempinski,
So we were at the Kempinski Hotel, and so everybody had told Chelvin that he had to find the Irish pub, right? So the Grand Irish pub, and so we didn't have like phones with GPSs and stuff like that. None of that. So we were gonna go walk out. So it was -36, I think, the day that we arrived, and so we're walking, and it's a couple of kilometers from the Kempinski to downtown, and so. We could not find the Irish pub for love nor money because, it's kind of weird in there where it's sort of tucked away.
It is. You wouldn't
by
think
the
about
opera,
it.
whatever.
Yeah.
So we ended up by Central Tower, and that's where the Louis Vuitton shop. And
Oh yeah, that's when that's when the whole LV craze was happening over
Right.
here. Yeah, yeah.
so I was like, that was my idea. Let's go to the Louis Vuitton because the people will speak English for sure in the Louis Vuitton. Like in those days, hardly anybody spoke English.
Probably,
There
yeah.
were very few people that spoke English. So we went in there. But this is like my classic story of class in Mongolia or something. We went in there. There was, sure enough, a very capable young sales lady in there. Spoke very, very good English. Asked her where the Grand Canada Irish pub was, and she was like, never heard of it. No idea. Didn't know.
What? Oh, okay.
I know. I guess she didn't frequent such establishments.
Well, maybe.
Maybe. So I mean, eventually we found it and we warmed up and all the rest of it. But just the whole, like, I found everything endearing. Like the fact that the stairs out of businesses came into the middle of the sidewalk so that if you were a blind person, you would die. I found that very quaint and endearing. You know, I found like the Mongolian practice of moving you aside if you're in their way. I found that wonderful, and it's like I didn't like being touched. And here's people.
Yeah.
Like, it's so much better
Just
than,
like a family member,
it's
right?
Like you're immediately a family member. And so, so my first impression of Mongolia was it just, the people were great, and I didn't mind the weather. I'm used to it from my background.
Kudos to that.
And I don't know, it was great. And then the company provided language lessons.
Oh, Mongolian language lessons.
Mongolian language lessons. And so I signed up for 4 hours a week. And so in those days, they let you have unlimited lessons. If you were the spouse, you could have as many hours as you want.
Oh.
Now, I think it's my fault. I think they cap it at 50 now. It's
You've
my fault.
abused the system.
I did. 4 hours a week for 4 years. I had lessons.
Oh, no wonder your Mongolian was so good. I can vouch for that. Those who don't know Mongolian, I think her Mongolian is better than mine.
No, that's absolutely not true. But it's functional. So I mean, when you work with the kids in the families who scavenge to survive, and they're in the impoverished neighborhoods, if you want to speak to those people and actually communicate authentically and effectively, you have to speak in their language. So, and then my language teacher turned out to be Sarah, and so Sarah and Bagi, they had a small trekking business and.
Trekking,
Horse trekking. And so,
okay.
And then Chelman, we went for a drive in Turelj National Park, not too long after we got, so when we actually moved here, it was actually September the following year, by the time we actually got here. And then the next spring we went driving through Turelj National Park, and there's like this beautiful river, little gears dotting it. And Chelman had this great idea that we should rent one of these gears by the river, so we would have a place for the weekends, because he liked to get away from work and all of the people.
I mean, Tirji is a must. It's close by the town, and anyone who's coming over, it's a must go.
It's beautiful. And so Sarah was the only real Mongolian person I knew at that point. So I asked Sarah if she could help me rent a gear. And so she ended up, she told me she could help me rent a gear, of course. But she said, they had a piece of land on the other side of Turelj, so it's by the big Chinga statue, by the river, on the Toll River, it's a really nice little corner of the world. And she said they're out there, and they have that we would be farther ahead to buy a gear and put it on their land, because if you just rent it, first of all, it's going to be really expensive because you're a foreigner. And second of all, if nobody's taking care of it, then there's going to be issues with it, or people will know that you're a foreigner. And Mongolia is very notoriously, what's the word? Share-based. So people will come and share in whatever you leave behind, also known as steal.
Well, I've got my summer house shared a few times, so I understand the pain. Yeah,
people share. So we ended up buying a gear and putting it up on their land, and then I watched all these kids thundering by on horseback, and then even though I was scared of horses, I decided I was just going to sit on a horse because I want to understand the culture. I'm learning the language. Like the countryside culture is beautiful and amazing and stunning and spectacular and breathtaking and natural, and I could go on and on with all of my adjectives. But so I was just going to sit on a horse, and so then when I sat on the horse, and my guide was Saikna, who's now one of the head guides for Horse Trek Mongolia, but he was 10. And and he took me around, walking around like I was on a pony ride. But like literally when I got on the horse and then the horse started moving, like the most amazing thing happened. Like I explain it to people. It's like, you know, like when you're playing Tetris and all of the things fall into place and all of the things
Yes.
jump.
Euphoria.
It
Yeah.
was just like, this is how it's supposed to be. Like I had this really profound feeling that this is how it's supposed to be. We are supposed to be with horses. That horses and people are one thing, and that, like, all of this. I had no idea that I was a horse person, and it all came just exploding out of me.
Wow.
And then Bagi asked me. I asked Bagi if he would teach me to ride, and he did. And then I decided that if I asked him to teach me to ride, of course he would do that. But you know, he had other things to do. He had his animals to take care of and stuff. So I suggested to Sarah, Bagi is Sarah's husband, and so I suggested to Sarah that I organize some ladies from the, you know, like the expat wives sort of thing, to come out and go riding once a week. And that way, you know, we would pay him and he would get a bit of salary, and we would get out, and then most importantly, I would learn how to ride without being too much of an imposition on
A
Bagi.
win-win situation.
It was, and it was phenomenal. Actually, it's a really, really great model. So we went out. The cool thing is that the local herding families got to know expats because we came every week, right? And we got to know them because we came every week. So suddenly it wasn't us and them. Suddenly it was just Sarah and Bagi and the ladies, right? They called us the ladies, like the riding group. So we had a club, and then the treks started, and then the Gobi Gallop started, and then all of the time through the middle of all of that. Like, so when we came to Mongolia, the company paid for a 20-foot container for us to bring our belongings. We are not people who have 20-foot container worth of belongings that we're going to take to Mongolia. Like, we had about this much, about, you know, a couple of feet in the container,
and that's
right?
it. Yeah.
And so we organized to get about 4.5 tons worth of donated jackets and blankets and coats and things into the container, because it seemed stupid to come from
The first time you came?
The first time we came, yeah.
Oh.
When we moved here. And so that's how I found the kids in the garbage dump. Was I met the ladies from the International Women's Association, and they helped me with the distribution of all of these charity goods. And so we put it out there. We put a call out, and so we had a bunch of charities show up to collect the things. And one of them was this guy named Basindoj Baska. And he had been like working with the people in the garbage dump, and he was very, very intense, extremely intense. And
Intense in what way?
well, he was like, he came in and he was asking. We were in the basement of a church, which was the place where we had. They gave us space so that we could sort it out. I feel compelled to point out at this point that I am not religious. And,
There you go. I'm agnostic as well.
I always have to say it's not such a big thing in the world, but a lot of people just automatically assume that because I'm doing this work that I'm religious, but I'm not. You can be a very kind, charitable, good person and not be religious.
Exactly.
There's a lot of us. But anyway, the church had volunteered their basement for us to sort this 4.5 tons of things. And so when Baska showed up, the ladies had done an amazing job. And so they were all sorted into different rooms and whatnot. And so when Baska showed up, he asked if he could take, you know, anything. There was a limit, and we said, as long as it's going for charity, that's fine. So even though there was nobody else at all in the church basement, he ran down the hallway to the room that had the blankets and got 5 or 6 or 7 blankets, and then he ran back to the room that had the coats and just started throwing coats in and tying them up like big bundles. And then he stuffed them into this car. This car used to be very, very common, but you hardly ever see them anymore. You know, the 2000 no-name Korean cars?
Excel and accents.
No, not even Excel and accent, but like it's something even less no-name than that. They were just like, they had no logo on them. They were like the super cheapest cars that
There
you
you
could
go.
find. And so the things were, they were just like exploding out of the car and tied to the roof and all the rest of it. And so then at the end, when we finished the distribution, I had a few just odds and sods left, and some of the people were saying we should just throw them out, and I was like, I'm not throwing them anything out. These are all good. So I said, let's call that guy from the garbage dump, because he seemed
Baska.
like he would take anything. And so that was Baska. So we called Baska, and Baska invited us to go up and meet the people that we were helping. And so that's how that all started. Is I went up there with this leftover thing, and I met these kids in just the most atrocious circumstances. And so one thing about my background is that I understand cold. And not everybody understands cold. But when you see...
When you say, it's minus 30 outside right now. And, you know, if you're from a country where it rarely snows,
Right.
you don't understand minus 40 degrees Celsius.
You're going to die before you're going to freeze to death before you starve to death.
Exactly.
Right.
You know, sometimes when I try to bring out my phone out of my pocket
Yeah.
and try to, call somebody,
Yeah.
I have this visceral, fear
Yeah.
of getting my fingers
Your fingers will
frozen.
freeze. They'll
Yeah,
freeze. Yeah.
yeah. If you talk for too long, it's gonna freeze.
Right.
So I think, that's one thing, that not many people who's living south of, in the southern hemisphere,
Yeah.
can appreciate, and it's not their fault.
No. I mean, it's like we lived in Australia for a while, and I was an idiot about super hot climates, and I did a lot of really stupid things.
There you go.
And so it's like I don't hold it against people that they don't understand about cold, but like you have like the people in the community that we service because they scavenge to survive. Like when I was a kid, we had wood heat, and that's all we had was wood heat. And we would go out with my dad every summer, every weekend, all the time, whether we wanted to or not, to get wood. So we were like, Canada's full of forest, right? So we're cutting trees down, we're bucking them into like truck-sized pieces, taking them home, splitting, and hauling, and all the rest of it. Well, Mongolia is only 6% treed, so in the countryside, everybody burns dung. And it's because they have the animals. But then the people that we help at the Ulanchola garbage dump, most of those people are from the countryside, and they've been displaced because they've lost their herds. So they lost their herds, and everybody thinks it's food and work and money and stuff. But really, what they've lost, the most critical thing in some respects, is they've lost their fuel.
Yeah. Now that you say it that way, I'm Mongolian, and
Right.
I know everything. I thought I knew everything, but now that you've put it that way, that's it. Like,
And if
it's a lifeline.
today, if you're in a ger and you don't have fuel, you have about 12 hours, maybe a little more, before you freeze to death, right? So it's like when the hierarchy of needs, food and shelter kind of thing. Like when it's as cold out as it is now, food is much less important than fuel, and so the people they don't have money to buy the coal, which coal is available for sale here, which that's a whole nother conversation, but they don't have the money for fuel. There's not much by way of wood available, just because there's so little wood in Mongolia. So they burn whatever they can find to burn from the garbage. So often that's shoes or tires.
Yeah.
And so the toxicity of that is, as you can imagine, off the charts.
It
we all breathe that. It's not just them. So that first day when we went up there, and I found these kids just in these terrifying situations where it was about minus 25 the day that we went up there. And so, we would go into ger. There's a 6-year-old boy taking care of his 2-year-old sister. There's no fire in the hearth because the parents they don't have nothing to burn. And so he's there by himself, and he's apologizing to me because he has no sutetse. He has no milk tea to offer. And he's like, when I used to be ekche. So, and his sister she was only half dressed because they're from the countryside, so she's toilet training because she's 2 years old. She's got no pants on. So she's...
Well, that's
I know, but
it's
like they're in a ger with no fire, and it's minus 25, and she's wearing a t-shirt and nothing else. And she had a big burn on her face because at some point in time there'd been a fire in the stove, and she'd fallen into it. And so... but that was I'd seen a bunch of stuff that day, but that was I just couldn't walk away. And Chelvin was with me, and we just walked out of that ger. We were just like, no, we got to do something because this is wrong. And I mean, it just is that simple. This is wrong. And nobody was doing anything. There wasn't anybody. Like Veloo Foundation, we used to be a grant-giving organization. So we've supported...
Oh, so you have Veloo Foundation before you came to Mongolia?
We did, yeah. And so we supported schools and handicapped home and orphanages like in Malaysia and India and stuff. And so normally we would find, an organization that was doing good work and give them some money to help them do good work. But when we got to this situation, the only reason we became a frontline organization was because there wasn't anybody doing anything. So there wasn't anybody to give money to say, like, help these kids, because no one was helping them.
Even if they were far in between, and then, couldn't reach all that poverty because it was so rampant. As a boy, as my childhood was spent in the early 90s and early 2000s, we've spoken briefly about this. I could vividly remember some poverty to the bone,
Right.
not on myself,
Right.
not firsthand, but I could see, the suffering that's happening, not only for children and the vulnerable, but for everybody. Like everybody was struggling. I could see that people, and the men, they've lost their foundation when the society has changed, and now they have to fend for themselves, and all the safety nets are gone. And I remember, it's not factual statistics, just from observation. I could see that almost every second man, adult male, is a drunkard. They would drink their sorrows away every day. And there was even a place called Do in the area where you could see hordes of just men, sometimes women, just being in a drunken stupor in the wintertime. And I can definitely see why there weren't people who were doing anything, because they themselves were struggling, probably, right? There weren't enough people who could have, for example, you said English, language gives you opportunities.
Right.
I can't imagine myself without, my command of English.
Right.
I don't know where I would have ended up in. And
I mean, you just look at all of the jobs that are not available to people with any multinational corporation or NGO, all the United Nations, UNICEF, all of the embassy jobs, like, all of the big mining companies, all of these places, they all pretty much require English.
And that's why it's a privilege. I only recently have acknowledged that, because I thought to myself, I worked hard for this and stuff, but actually my parents had the vision to teach me English while they were struggling, and they've spent money they didn't have for my education, and that's why I'm here. And that's why it's really important that you've said that you're studying English as a program over there, so that not only are the children gonna learn English, but also their parents will now have a vision, a brighter future that they see for their children.
I mean, right at the moment, none of them would ever, like if I walked into a gear up there and said, let's make a plan to send little Bill Goon over, to Canada to study, they would just look at me like I'd grown horns, because little Bill Goon is not going to study over to Canada. They wouldn't even consider it. They wouldn't even think about it. It's not, I'm sure that you are thinking about with your kids whether or not they're going to end up going overseas to school, for university and stuff. And maybe they will and maybe they won't. But it's a very much...
It's a possibility.
It's very much a part of your planning process, of decision-making process. But for the people that I'm working with, they don't even consider it. And so this opportunity, if you can get the community to open their mind to the possibility that is possible, and show them a way to make it possible, then you effectively eliminate the inherent class structure that is, at the moment, what I see is the people in the city center. They're the privileged ones, and the ones on the far Gare district, they're the second class citizens. And so that's just, that's not a plan or a strategy by anybody. It's just, that's just sort of how it has evolved.
The sad situation.
It's more economic than it is sort of political, I think, at this point. Because certainly they get a lot of things in the Gare district when somebody wants to get elected. I mean, our kindergarten, we used to have to drive through a river to get to the kindergarten, and then one election, we got the paved road with the bridge, and then the next election there was you get stuff. It's how it works. The people want your vote, so they do some community development. When I started, when we built the kindergarten up there was nothing. There were no grocery stores.
So where's the kindergarten again?
It's in the northwest corner of the Gare district. So it's actually in Songenhagen district, up by Ullancholot garbage dump.
Oh, right next to Ullancholot.
So it's the Ullancholot is just over the hill.
Oh, okay.
So if you look it up on Google Maps, if you look at Veloo Foundation, and the Veloo Foundation comes up as two. One is our city office, but the other one it's on unnamed road.
Oh,
Yeah.
on Google Maps.
Yeah, on Google Maps, unnamed road, but
happens.
it's up there, like in the northwest corner.
Oh.
So, and you know, the interesting thing is I've learned so much through this process, and I never ever expected that this was going to be my life. This is not part of the plan, as they say. Like you said, I could be on a beach someplace, you know, sipping margaritas. Except I don't like margaritas. But one of the things that I discovered is that by building when we built the kindergarten there, it had been identified by the Mongolian government as an area of critical preschool education shortage, essentially. Which that sounds very formal, but essentially there were no kindergarten to preschool for
that makes
thousands.
sense.
There were 10 or 15,000 preschool age children that had no education programs at all. So when we started, like most families would have one kid that would go to school up there. And even that child, generally speaking, didn't get much beyond second or third grade. They just would get them to the point where they were literate. So they were functionally literate. They could read and write. They could sign contracts. You know, they were the person in the family who could read and write. And they had this role to uphold that part of the family. And I can see why, because Mongolian primary schools they're really demanding. Like
It is.
it's really hard.
Yeah.
And so, and because it's modeled on the Russian system, it's not very kind and gentle. So like
I was a lefty.
oh geez.
I used to be.
Yeah, you used to be. You got that beaten out of you, I imagine. We do play-based learning, and we have psychologists, and we do all sorts of stuff. But even in our kindergarten, which is all very child-centered, and it's centered on their emotional and psychological and spiritual and growth and all of those things. Even us, when they get to be 5 years old, in our 5-year-old classroom, the kids have to sit down. They have to line up. They have to be alphabeticalized, all the stuff, so that when they go to school, they're prepared for it. Because I'm so amazed. These kids, when they leave our kindergarten, like they're adding 21 and 15. Like their math is amazing, and they can.
I can't even do it now. Anyways.
36. They have they can already write and read. The academic standards for entrance into into first grade is quite high. So if you don't have that support at home, and then that's just the academic stuff. Then there's all the soft skills. So if you when we started the kindergarten, all of the kids came to class just like they would have in the countryside. So countryside Mongolia, countryside Canada, countryside everywhere, it's not a very clean place. It just isn't, because you live outside and you get dirty and you get dusty, and you don't have running water. So your cleanliness standards are just different. And so the kids would come and they would be dirty, their clothes would be dirty, and we would clean them up, and we would give them clean clothes, and we would wash their clothes, and we would send them home clean. And we never said anything to the parents about it. But very quickly the parents went, wait a minute,
Picked it up.
we're supposed to be sending them clean. And so then the kids started coming to school clean.
Wow.
And so I remember, it was so funny, the very first classroom that we had, I had one of my friends, one of the ladies from the writing club was up there, and the kids were all crying, screaming. It was the first week of class. So she's holding this child, and she said to me, Julie, I think this one has lice.
Oh.
And I said, I think they all do. And she went, oh. Put the child down, and she didn't come back. And if you send your kid to first grade, you can imagine this: if you send your kid to first grade in a Mongolian school, and they don't read or write or do arithmetic, and they don't know their colors or their numbers or their letters, and they're dirty, the teachers are not going to say, "Oh my goodness, poor little Bilgoon, you haven't had."
There are 50 others.
There's 50 or 60 or 70. There's so many kids in the classroom, and so their chances of academic success are poor. And so the good news is the kids that come from our kindergartens academically do really, really well when they go to primary school. They do really well.
Congratulations.
And they stay in school. Like we have some hard data and a lot of anecdotal data about because it is a bit of a transient community, and so some kids have moved away, and so we haven't been able to keep track of them. But we have a lot of kids there. The first class of the kindergarten graduates are graduating high school this year.
Oh,
This is it.
wow.
This is it.
Isn't it rewarding?
It's crazy great.
I can't imagine what you're feeling right now.
It's crazy great. And I run into them on the streets when I go up there, and it's like, and now, a lot of them have learned English, through the school, so they can communicate a little bit with my friends and stuff when I go up there. And then, of course, I can speak to them in Mongolian. But there's one little boy, he showed up, and he would have been in grade 11. It was last summer. I was up there, and he came, and he was like, oh, Julie. And he was like, he wanted to practice his English with me.
There you go.
And so we were speaking English, and he'd been to the kindergarten. And I was asking him, do you remember the kindergarten? He said, my kindergarten was too good. It was too good. So it was like, so it's...
What a compliment.
It's making a difference one child at a time. And, the thing is, you can only do what you can do. And people think that I'm doing all of this. And the fact of the matter is, as of this moment, there's 40 employees between our summer camp and our libraries and our
there you go.
And everything, and that doesn't even include all of the people who support us, by doing the horse trekking and the Gobi Gallop and the Blue Wolf Totem, and all of the authentic, amazing experiences that people come. We have this one lady, Betsy, she came, and she's ridden with us 8 times now. So she's done a ton of different treks, including the 3-month-long one, and she's doing the 4-month-long one next year. She's done the Gobi Gallop twice. She's
practically a Mongolian rider.
Practically, yeah, she is.
If she was in the 13th century, she would have been
100%. 100%. But she's also... part of the reason why she does it is because it supports the kids, and she's become one of our big supporters as well. So she separately does all sorts of other funding and other fundraising. And so, she's helped us, with funding for different programs at the library. Like we have a knitting program and computers and all kinds of stuff. And then she recently instituted 2 years ago, I guess it is now, Minx for Mongolia. So Minx. So she was doing a speech. A presentation about her riding in Mongolia, and somebody wanted to donate a mink coat. Because in America people don't wear them anymore, right? And she said she thought that would be fine. And then while she was speaking, 8 women got up and left, and she thought that they'd left because they didn't like what she was talking about, but they came back with mink coats.
Oh.
And we've had I think 40 mink coats now. We resell the mink coats as mink coats. We also make them into rugs, for on the floor or for on the bed. We make purses out of them. So we upscale the mink into a bunch of different things, and then we sell it.
There you go.
And some of the coats also we resell. But it's so there's this really interesting connection between the people who come and ride. And then we take them to the project. All the people who come to do the Gobi Gallop, 700 kilometers in 10 days of riding. So those riders all come up. The same with the Blue Wolf Totem, the insane long ride, 3,000, 4,000 kilometers. They all get to go up to the project, and so they're not just raising money because they have to as part of the ride, but they see the impact of it. And so we get this. I'm incredibly lucky that I get to, by default, I think anybody who wants to come and go for an adventure in Mongolia is a cool person. And anybody who wants to come and go for an adventure in Mongolia and help the local children is an even cooler person. And so I get to go around the whole country doing this, and these people, it just becomes a big circle. And so now we just there was just a movie made about me and Shelvin, actually, that showed at a film festival.
What is it called?
It's called The Power of Horses.
The Power of Horses. That's a very suitable name for a movie that's coming from Mongolia. Right? Yeah.
Exactly. So it was made by a producer, Mongolian. Yeah. So it just was at a film festival, a horse-themed film festival in America, and won a very nice award.
Congratulations!
Thank you very much. It was very bizarre to see yourself.
So you won the horse movie Oscars. Well, the Academy Awards for horse movies.
Not quite. Let's not get crazy. But the lady who organizes the film festival, she and I we're talking about next year, in 2027. Bringing the festival to Mongolia and using it as a kickoff event for the Gobi Gallop. So wonderful. I have some meetings. So here's when you move to Mongolia, weird things happen. I'm in the Guinness Book of World Records. I've been I've done the TED Talks. I've done I'm in, not Maclean's, that's a Canadian magazine, Cosmopolitan.
Cosmopolitan.
I mean, yeah, I know.
Oh,
I know.
way to go.
I know. I've been Mongolian Cosmopolitan, but it's still Cosmopolitan.
It is.
It is, and it's only like just a picture of my face, and it was because I was. I think that one was because I was doing a TED Talk. Maybe they put that in Cosmopolitan, or maybe it was because of the Guinness Book of World Records.
There you go. Cosmopolitan should be honored to have you on this. Yeah.
No, yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, I'll go with that. They should be honored. And now, like, I get to go and I have to go and meet the Minister of Culture and see whether or not we can get some collaboration to get this film festival about horses, a horse-themed film festival to come to Mongolia.
They should jump on this opportunity because what do they have to lose, right?
Right? Yeah. I know. And so anyway, so that might happen. So, just carry on, keep on doing stuff.
Yeah.
I'm lucky.
Well, I think those children are lucky to have you over here as well, Wow. And now they're high schoolers.
I know.
Who knows? You've probably how many children?
Oh, that's a good question. So we have our graduating class. So this is I guess this is 12 years we've been graduating kids now, and so the first graduating class was about 25, and now the graduating class is about, one kindergarten is about 80, and then the other kindergarten is about 50, so about 130 every year. So
130 kids.
Yeah.
And these kids are all from Ulanchotlot?
From that area.
The Ulanchotlot dump. Garbage dump area.
Yeah.
And their families are full-time scavenging.
Not all of them. No, we have the kids. So that area of Ulaanbaatar is the poorest area statistically.
Yeah, very impoverished. Yeah.
And so there's like.
And when we say impoverished, it's not a regular kind of, mild.
Yeah.
Yeah, poverty. It's poverty, right? It's hardcore poverty,
it's
right there.
It's the coldest capital city on the planet. So
you said it.
When I was talking earlier about, when they come from the countryside without their animals and then they don't have any fuel, we used to spend all summer getting wood. Well, they spend all summer getting things that will burn through the winter. Yeah. And so even though they're scavengers, their ability to be a successful scavenger is held back by the fact that they have to find things to burn before they find things to sell. Because they're living in gears. So I also have a gear company. I don't know if you knew that.
I didn't know that.
There you go.
How many things are you doing over here? It's like...
I know. So the gear company started out actually... So Sarah, who's my Mongolian language teacher, and the lady from Horsetrack Mongolia, she and I own a gear company together. And we make gears for local market and for international distribution. And so people can just... The idea is when we sell a gear internationally that we give one to a homeless family here.
Oh, so you match the gears.
Buy one, get one, give one. Yeah, so our factory makes all the gears, and so so there's two parts to it. One is like when we sell them overseas that, it's a buy one, give one. People can also just buy a gear to give. Like if they don't have to buy one for themselves, if they would just like to buy, if they would just like to provide a homeless family with a gear,
that's
they
the
can.
new trend, apparently.
Right? Well,
it's a great mobile accommodation that's almost like a tent.
Yeah.
When you collapse it.
So much better.
Yeah, when you bring it up, it's like an apartment. It's like a house.
Yes, it's like a house, and exactly. I mean, gears are amazing. I love gears.
So trekking.
So trekking is an amazing way to experience Mongolia, of course. So Mongolia, you may not even realize yourself what kind of a mecca this is for horse people around the world. Like Mongolian, all y'all are like the best horsemen on the planet. They're the best. Mongolia is the oldest unbroken horse culture on the planet. So there's lots of old horse cultures around, but there's none that have never been broken. That's a separate thing. One of the reasons why I'm really passionate about trying to keep the horse culture alive and thriving, but we don't have time today for that. the point is that it's the 17th largest country on the planet. It's all public land. There's no fences. It's only 6% treed. You literally can ride wherever the heck you want. You can camp wherever you want.
Yeah.
And we have pulled up right beside people's houses and set up our tents right beside their gear. And because it was a nice place. And they're like, oh, Sano.
Yes.
And like, hello. And here's, would you like some arroz? And so that's just like, Mongolian hospitality is legendary, and it really is amazing how welcoming everybody is. The horses are great. So I mentioned before, we started this riding club when I started to ride, and then from that, a group of us decided that we were going to ride. Actually, we rode down to OT. That's how the Gobi Gallop started. Is we rode down to the mine.
So all the way to the Gobi,
right? From the Chinggis tattoo basically to OT.
600 kilometers.
706.
706.
706.
Okay.
And so that's how the Gobi Gallop started, actually. And that's why it's called the Gobi Gallop. And then after we did it, we just sort of did it for, it was a group of friends kind of for a lark. And we were just in the process of starting the kindergarten at that point. And so we made it into a fundraiser. And it was great. And it worked well. And then I thought, well, that was awesome. That was super cool. And then maybe other people want to do this. Who knows? So I basically made up the Gobi Gallop and put it out there on Facebook, and then people signed up. And
wow.
So then it became a thing, and now it's the longest annual charity horseback ride on the planet. But we do have rides for all levels, and one of the things that Mongolian horses get a bad rap out in the world because there's a big race that happens that loves to show Mongolian horses bucking people off and being crazy, and this race 50% of the people who enter don't finish. And
oh wow,
so
that's a disheartening statistic.
It's completely avoidable in my opinion. They put saddles on the horses that the horses are not used to. With one single
the Western
girth.
saddles.
With a single girth. I mean, they fit the horses. The horses they're fine. They're designed for the horses, but they only have one girth. Mongolian saddles always have two girths. Yeah. And then they put packs on the back of the saddle, like with the people's gear. Yeah. And so the Mongolian horses think they're prey animals, and they think that something's chasing them, and so a certain percentage of them go crazy and run and all the rest of it. And so so I'm sort of always trying to correct people's misconception of Mongolian horses. Our horses are fed all winter and ridden all winter.
There you go.
And so they're in the spring they haven't been left to forage, and so they do forage, they do free range, that they also come home because there's hay in the middle of the night. And so
nothing like a hay after a long day of foraging. Yeah,
that's right, exactly. So they come. When we do the Gobi Gallop, our horses all have to be able to do the Gobi Gallop, which means they're good for all of the other rides as well. So we do. We have 8 or 10 different rides all over the place. So there's rides in Zhaokhong province, up at the reindeer people. We go to the eagle hunters. We've got a couple over in Hinti. We've got one down into the Gobi. We have rides all around Mongolia.
All the great wonders of Mongolia. Right? You just do it in one ride?
Well, the big long ride, we'll be doing all of those in one ride. But we do have the other smaller ones, which are just sort of the 10-day or 2-week rides. And then so those ones, it's with Horse Trek Mongolia. That's the company, and then they give us 20% for the Veloo Foundation from those rides. So people actually, when they sign up for the rides, the first sort of deposit just goes directly to Veloo Foundation. That's sort of how that works, and then they pay the rest of the money to Horse Trek Mongolia. And so the cool thing about that business model actually is in Mongolia, trekking companies sort of fall into 3 categories, and so. There's a few trekking companies that are completely foreign, completely owned by foreign people, run by foreign people.
I didn't know that. Okay.
There are, and they use saddles that are very Western, and the Mongolian engagement is basically just the Mongolians are basically they just take care of the horses and everything else is foreign. And then there's Mongolian trekking companies where everything is Mongolian and nothing is foreign, and there's no safety equipment, and they don't adjust the stirrups for the length of the person's leg.
It's like the 13th century,
It's like the 13th century. Yeah,
but it's sometimes it can be risky. It seems like I'm a terrible excuse for a Mongolian because I don't ride well. I don't ride horse well. But one thing we need to appreciate, I think, is how hardy and how intelligent Mongolian horses can be.
They're really amazing.
Yes, and they're if they're treated really well, they'd be easy to handle. But sometimes I see some abused horses, and it's hard to deal with, because they're semi-wild to begin with, because they're foraging most of the day, and then, some if you abuse that kind of hardy horse, then those horses can become pretty menacing, not to the owners, but to the people who are novices like me. Sometimes I can feel the energy.
See, I mean, I think that you also suffer from the fact that you're a Mongolian man, and when you go to the countryside, they will just assume that you know how to ride, and they'll give you whatever horse. Like, it doesn't matter because you're a young man, and so there you go.
Yeah, and the biggest and the strongest,
right,
and
Yeah, I have the advantage of being like a little old foreign lady, so I get a hunmer.
There you go.
That's it. So I get the calm ones. I own a bunch of horses, so that part's cool. And so the cool thing, so the Mongolian companies that exist here, the safety standards tend to be not that great. There's language barriers. There's the tack tends to be not that great. There's a number of issues, and mostly the primary issue that I see is that the Mongolian people, and this is hard to get across to people. It's hard to explain something that when you don't know what you don't know kind of thing. But the Mongolian horsemen are so good that they can't conceive of somebody not being good, not being able to. So the Mongolian companies, I'm sure that they're doing their very best to be safe, but they just don't understand how poor some people, like what little base knowledge there is. It's like, it's like to them, it's like we don't know how to walk if you don't know how to ride.
Exactly. It's a cultural gap that's hard to bridge sometimes, even with me, as you said, whenever I'm in the countryside, I feel like I'm going to get bucked off of this horse. Yeah. But still, as a pride of a Mongolian man, I just sit there. And there's a funny story behind it as well, But I'm sure we can cover it. Maybe if you give me another chance for a podcast, we can cover it. But anyhow, so that's how it is. Like if you've grown up in the countryside, and that's our pride as well as Mongolians, because we grew up, not me particularly. Mongolians grow up with their horses, and it's part of them. It's part of their identity. It's part of their body and soul, and that's why I can definitely see it's not nobody's fault. It's just that it's so different, right? Coming from a Western culture and trying to ride over here, but at the same time feeling unsafe, and from the herder's side, not understanding what they're going through because people are meant to be riding horses, right? So yeah.
Right. Well, I took Sarah and Baggy, Chelvan and I took them to Canada, and I took them on a trail ride just so that they would get an appreciation of what it means when people say I can ride. And so because people would say I can ride, and Baggy would say to me, why do these people say they can ride? They can't ride. I'm like, but in Canada they can ride because they're riding around in a circle, in a ring, right? And the criteria for riding in Canada is very different than riding in Mongolia, right? And so,
everything's relative, isn't it? Yeah.
So anyway, in Mongolia you have the foreign companies, and then you have the local companies, and I think that Sarambagi and Horse Trek Mongolia are the only kind of hybrid where we have Western safety standards, so there's breakaway stirrups, and we have helmets and half chaps, and the guides are all trained, to make sure that the saddles fit the horses and the people, and we do safety briefings, and all of those things are taken into consideration. We have really, really good horses, and they still go, and we still go to all of these places, but we do it safely. So, and it's a Mongolian-owned company, and all of the money stays in Mongolia. So,
okay.
Even though 20% of it goes to Veloo Foundation, that money all stays in Mongolia, for Mongolian kids. And so sometimes people, I think that I get a salary. I do not get a salary. I just get to for a long time I've done the web page and the Facebook and all the social media for Veloo Foundation and for Horse Trek Mongolia.
Yeah, from the looks of it, you've done a great job.
Well, the last year or so, I've handed that off to other people because it's time to start other people doing that. But it is. That's sort of why I started doing it, is because the thing that was holding Sarambagi back, they had a small trekking company, and like they've been doing this since I think Bagi started in 1994 or something at Interalge, but it was the language barrier that was holding them back, so they couldn't make their own website or any of that sort of stuff. So
that's really important.
Right. So now people can find it. Like we're on, everywhere on all the social stuff, and I'm sure that you're going to add this at the end of the podcast where people can find it.
Oh, I definitely will, and I'm thinking of actually taking a ride with my family because city dwellers.
Right.
We my funny story is I tried to put my wife on the horse and I jumped on another horse trying to show off. This is before we got married. And then my horse was too aggressive and her horse was too lax. So I got crucified in the middle like this. And the whole skin of my palm on my right hand was gone.
Oh, no.
And yeah.
Because you were holding the reins incorrectly.
Exactly. Yeah. I didn't know,
right.
my dad is a horseman, right? But he didn't teach me. He didn't have the time. It's not his fault.
It is his fault.
It's not his fault.
It is his fault.
I'll get beaten when I get so yeah, that's the thing, because not only Westerners, not only foreigners, but also, Mongolians, we I think now are awakening to our heritage and want to be part of the heritage as well.
Sure.
And that's going to give us a great opportunity too. That's another market that you have to look into, and definitely we'll share all the social media information down below on the YouTube and Facebook.
I just have to say that, like Sarah and Bagi, and now their kids, Zola and Saikna and Baira, that they just do an incredible job of so Zola and Saikna speak English now because they came and stayed in Canada with us for a while. So they're 20 something or the other, and their English is great, and they're sort of the hybrid generation that you were talking about. They grew up in the countryside, amazing horsemen. They know everything that their fathers and grandfathers and great grandfathers and everything knew, and they can manage all of the traditional stuff. But they also have been in the world, and they've been lived in Vancouver, and so they get all of both sides of it. It's quite cool to see them sharing their country with people from around the world.
Wonderful.
And it's wonderful for people to be able to actually speak directly to them and not through an interpreter.
Yes.
That's a bonus. But I do think that Sarambagi's horses, our horses, are some of the best horses in Mongolia. Certainly some of the best horses for, we have horses. Next year, I just have to tell you, so my original horse that I learned to ride on, his name is Borogui. And Borogui means innocent for people who don't speak Mongolian. And the reason he's named innocent is because I had one horse prior to him.
Borogui.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a cute name. I like it.
I had a horse before him called Tomulan, and that Bagi gave me this horse, and so which means big red for people who don't speak Mongolian. That horse was stolen and killed and eaten, and so the Holgach.
You're saying that in a very.
I know it was very shocking to me to begin with, but they do eat horse in Mongolia, and often the horses, if they're stolen, get eaten because it's really hard to track down a horse that's been eaten as opposed to one that's being ridden.
Yeah, that's a culture shock for those who are watching.
True. But in Mongolia also, the legal system is such that if you steal a horse, that you are able to make restitution to the person that you've stolen the horse from by giving them another horse. And that will lessen your sentence when you're going to jail. So we found the Holgach. The Holgach story. The Holgach means it means thief, but it also means bastard somehow. Like it has a Holgach is a.
You're so indoctrinated into Mongolian culture now.
It's I know, right?
Yeah. We should put a disclaimer on this video saying that mild to moderately mild language.
Bastard's okay. It just means your parents weren't married. Anyway, that is worth a movie, though, how we found the Holgach. But anyway,
there you go.
We did find him, and then his father or grandfather, I can't remember which, made restitution by giving us an opportunity to get another horse. And the horse we ended up getting was a Borogui. We weren't going to keep him. We were just going to take him back and sell him and then use the money to buy another horse, because every time I looked at him, I had all this negative
stigma.
Emotion about, he's a replacement horse, right?
Yeah, the black sheep, the
right?
black horse.
And he is a black horse, actually.
There you go.
And I just sort of like, every time I saw him, I just wanted to sort of kick him. And then Baggy said to me, Julie, about 3 weeks after we'd had him, he's like, he's a really good horse. And so I started riding him. I hadn't been riding very long at that point, and my Mongolian wasn't very good. I started riding him, and he was just an amazing horse. Really, really kind and really smart and really safe and really fast and really slow. He would go and he would stop. And so I ended up keeping him, and that's why I called him Borogui, to remember that it's not his fault.
Did you feel a little bit guilty?
I did feel a bit guilty for my initial But the exciting part for me is this 4,000 kilometer ride we're doing next year, which is leaving on May 6th next year.
May 6th.
And May 6th till September 5th. And so we still have 2 seats available, 2 saddles available. So.
All right. Those who are listening,
there we go.
You have opportunities. Yeah. Well, you have to be able to ride though, right?
It helps. It's you have to be very super keen. One or the other, ready to learn. We anyway. I was just talking to Baggy the other day, and so he and I are each going to take 2 horses that we're going to try and see if they can do the full 4,000 kilometers, because it would make it great. It's just be awesome if they could. And so he asked me if I would like to take Borogui as one of my 2 horses. So I'm going to take Borogui, and then I'm going to take Maple Stirrup.
Maple syrup.
Stirrup.
Oh, maple stirrup. Yeah. Wordplay. Right. There you go. Smart.
So he's my most recent horse that I just bought last year, but he's done the Gobi Gallop. So, but Borogui has done the Gobi Gallop, the 700 kilometers in 10 days, 12 times, I think, 11 or 12 times. When people are looking at coming, they're looking at if you look at the Horse Trek Mongolia Facebook page, they're listed as the premier distance trekking company on the planet, because they are. Who does 3,000 kilometer rides or 4,000 kilometer rides? Who has the logistics?
I didn't even search for it.
Nobody does. And so, other people in other places, in other countries, 1,000 kilometers is a really long ride. And for us, it's Tuesday,
there you go. That's a flex.
So they have just an amazing skill set, and they've been everywhere. When we scout the rides, when we're if you look at the route map, which I want to get one made that I hang in my office that has all of the routes that I've ridden in Mongolia. So it's at 50,000 kilometers now, or a little more now, that I've ridden as an estimate. So
more than the Toyota.
Right? It helps the kids. It helps all of the projects, and so you can come have a guilt-free, really amazing, authentic experience riding. And we have wilderness treks or cultural, historical, all kinds of things. We go down to 8 Lakes. So actually, so Noemi, we circle all the way back to Noemi, who was the lady who said you should talk to me. Her husband is also a guide, and they have a lot of really great horses down there, and they do horse treks down there as well by Orhan.
So that's one of the spots where only the locals know, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much. Not many tourists go there, but it's beautiful.
It's really amazing. It's a really, really stunning place. So anyway,
all right. It looks like time's up, and because of the technical difficulties, we've been cut short. But still, I really hope that, one day we can continue our conversation and look into the insights. Maybe after your trek, there'll be some wild. I'm sure there's some wild stories that you haven't shared with us, and we didn't have the time. And I feel like, while exploring Mongolia on one of the safest horse treks, you can make a difference in people's lives, in children's lives, and a lasting difference, actually. And to be honest, I feel a little underaccomplished talking to you, Julie. And as a Mongolian, there's this one director of a movie, a girl said, if you look out and see the pollution in the city, remember that we're breathing through the poverty of our brethren.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is very true.
Yeah. So there has to be something done. And thank you for taking up the mantle and just, putting your effort into it and doing this, having this drive to actually go through, the hardships you probably haven't shared with me. I can definitely imagine what you have gone through to, accomplish this. But yeah, thank you for, all the sacrifices you've gone through. And I would like to extend my thanks to your parents too, because they've raised a wonderful human being.
Well, thank you very much. It's like, it honestly is my pleasure and privilege to get to be part of in some small way of the change, here in Mongolia. So, and just by way of reference, like I said, I'd never ridden a horse till I was 50. I didn't move to Mongolia till I was 50. You're ahead of me you've got lots of time to catch up, and already, doing this is going to make a big impact. So thank you very much for what you're doing, and great to be here.
Oh, wow. Thank you very much, Julie, and see you around.
See you around.